Welcome back to Fireside Unsolved, where we investigate the darkest corners of the unknown, and where mystery, the unexplained, and unanswered questions collide. In this episode, we take you to the quiet roads of Surrey, England, where an ordinary evening in December of 2002 spiraled into one of the strangest and most perplexing incidents the region has ever seen. A car accident, a missing person, and a trail of eerie sightings led investigators down a path that, to this day, remains unexplained. Was it a tragic accident or something far more mysterious? Let's try to figure out what really happened on the roads of Surrey, England on that strange night on Fireside Unsolved, episode 119. The strangest car crash of all time. The evening of December 11th, 2002 was like any other in the quiet town of Burpham, England, until around 7:20 p.m. when Surrey police began receiving a flood of calls from concerned members of the public. The callers were reporting something strange, something out of the ordinary. They had all witnessed the same unsettling sight. A car, seemingly out of control, swerving violently off the road and disappearing into the darkness. Witnesses claimed the car had careened down an embankment for approximately 330 feet before vanishing into the brush near an emergency slip road of the A3. When police arrived at the scene, they expected to find signs of a vehicle accident, evidence that the car had indeed lost control and crashed. But to their surprise, there were no tire marks, no skid marks, no broken branches or disturbed brush to indicate where the vehicle had veered off the road. It was as if the car had simply vanished into thin air. Perplexed, the officers searched the area, scanning the surrounding landscape for any trace of a distressed vehicle. The steep slope leading to the emergency slip road, which should have been an easy place to spot a car, appeared empty. There was no sign of a vehicle, no debris, no trace of an accident, not even a clue to explain what had happened. In fact, nothing seemed out of place at all. The road and surrounding area were undisturbed. Unable to explain the situation, the authorities ordered a more thorough search for the following day, hoping daylight might provide more clarity. The following day, as the investigation continued, officers widened their search to the surrounding area, hoping to uncover some clue that might explain the strange sightings from the night before. And it didn't take long for them to make a grim discovery. About 60 feet from the original reported location, buried under a thick pile of undergrowth, they found something that would turn the case in an entirely new direction. Half hidden from view, nose down and completely out of sight from passing traffic, lay a maroon Vauxhall Astra. The car was in a state that immediately struck the officers as odd. It didn't look like it had just driven off the road the night before. It appeared as though the car had been abandoned for months, its paint faded and dirt caked onto its exterior. There was also a thick layer of grime on the car, suggesting that the car had been untouched for far longer than just the previous evening. The situation became even more chilling when officers continued their search up the steep slope, which led back to the road. About halfway up the incline, they found a badly decomposed body. The victim, though barely recognizable due to the severe decomposition, had clearly suffered catastrophic injuries, likely sustained in the crash. It seemed as though the person had somehow managed to crawl out of the passenger side of the car following the accident. The damage to the driver's side was so extensive it was impossible to imagine anyone surviving it. One officer, upon discovering the body, was reported as describing the scene as spine-chilling. The investigation took another unexpected turn when the identity of the body was confirmed. Using dental records, it was revealed that the deceased was 21-year-old Christopher Brian Chandler from Middlesex. Chandler had been on the run since July 13, 2002, after being named a suspect in a robbery. For all intents and purposes, Christopher Chandler had disappeared, but now it seemed he had somehow ended up here, at the scene of this bizarre car crash, under very strange circumstances. Mobile phone records revealed another puzzling detail in the case. Just before his death, Christopher Chandler had placed a brief call to his brother. The call lasted less than a second before it abruptly disconnected, leaving behind only more questions. It's unclear whether this call took place just before or after the accident. Was it connected to his final moments, or was it simply a coincidence? The timing remains a mystery. Chandler's last known whereabouts painted an even stranger picture. He had been out drinking with friends in the Hounslow area of West London, enjoying the evening without any apparent cause for alarm. But then, inexplicably, he made the decision to leave. He didn't tell anyone why he was leaving, nor did he explain where he was going. No one knew he would be heading in the direction of Surrey. So when he didn't return home, he was reported as missing. Forensic investigators would later suggest that the timing of the crash and condition of the body when found aligned closely with when Chandler was reported missing. In fact, it's entirely possible, and more than likely, that the accident happened that very night, the very same night he left his friends in West London. The other vehicle, the one witnesses had originally reported swerving off the road, has never been found. No other car was ever located that could explain the report of a vehicle swerving on that December night in 2002. There was no evidence, and has never been any evidence, of any other vehicle besides Christopher's involved. The lack of any trace of the second car, combined with the strange circumstances surrounding Chandler's disappearance, left authorities stumped. The discovery of Christopher Chandler's body, combined with the strange reports from the public about the car crash, sparked a media frenzy. Speculation ran wild, with some suggesting that the crash those witnesses had called police about wasn't just an ordinary accident. Instead, it was some type of ghostly replay of the crash, from the night that Christopher did actually swerve off the road. Could it be that the events of that night somehow had played out in some supernatural way, as if trapped in a loop? The theory of a ghost car, a reenactment of a fatal crash, was quickly embraced by some. But the reality is that without those calls to 911 that night, it's possible that Christopher Chandler would have never been found. His body, hidden beneath the undergrowth and so far from where he was last seen, might have remained undiscovered forever. The reports of the crash, made by several different witnesses, seem to point to an eerie, almost preordained connection between the missing man and the scene of the accident. According to a spokeswoman for Surrey police, the car was concealed beneath a heavy blanket of leaves and branches. The dense undergrowth, she explained, had obscured the vehicle, which meant that it could very well have been sitting there, unnoticed, for far longer than anyone had realized. She also pointed out that even if passing motorists had spotted the vehicle earlier, they may have assumed it was already being dealt with, perhaps thinking it was part of the usual routine, a minor crash already attended by emergency services. Over 2 decades later, the case still haunts the minds of those who were involved, and the questions that arose from it remain unanswered. Why did so many people see what they saw that night? How could so many witnesses report a crash that, by all logic, should not have been possible? And why was the incident reported so close to the exact location of a crash that had taken place 5 months earlier? The debate over the bizarre series of events continues to this day. Was it a tragic accident, an eerie coincidence, or something far more strange? Something caused multiple people to witness that car crash that night, and according to all the facts, nothing like that occurred that night, at that location. And so, the mystery of Christopher Chandler's strange disappearance, and the strange crash that drivers in Surrey, England witnessed remains unsolved. And the questions still linger. Why had he decided to drive to Surrey in the first place? What led him to that particular location, so far from where he was last seen? His family and friends have no answers. They are left to wonder what may have been going through his mind during those final moments. Or maybe there was something else at play, something we may never know, that caused him to act in such an erratic manner. What did witnesses truly see that night? Was it simply a tragic accident, or something far more inexplicable? We may never have the answers, but as always, we'll continue to search for the truth, wherever it may lead. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and hold your loved ones close. And thank you for joining us and for your continued support. We'll see you next time. Fireside.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fireside Unsolved. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time, take it easy and be easy, you filthy bastards.